Hello, everybody. Oh, oh, mic check. Hello, everybody. My name is Eric D. Johnson, also known as BrightShine. I live right here in the city of Memphis, state of Tennessee. It's in the county sheriff. Today's date, early Monday morning, uh, April the 4th, 2016. Time 2:06 a.m. First, I thank all my family, my support for your continued encouragement and support. I continue to keep myself employed right here in the city of Memphis, in this tri-state area, and continue to further my education at Monroe College, online pursuing my associate degree studying business administration, construction marketing. And for today's video, we're gonna continue to talk about African traditional religion. I had to do a mic check. I forgot to turn the mic on. The music that you hear in the background, this is Africa.me. And that's the classic radio station. Let me turn it on a little bit. Today's video, we're gonna continue talking about African traditional religion, and we're gonna continue to pick up where we left off yesterday. It's gonna take a few minutes just to talk about what we talking about in my previous video about this DNA thing and about this head thing, because uh, I continue to do a little more research and everything. And, a lot of people everybody, may not have the same information with them, but I did get a little information. See, when you go online, see all the information already there. You see, the name that they be George, you know, when when you watch the movie Roots, and when Kuta Kinte and Bell's daughter Kizzy got moved to the plantation, to a new plantation. The plantation moved to was uh, the Leah plantation. I know everybody's seen the picture, but if you seen that movie Roots, the next generation, and when you see Chicken Joy had that pipe in his mouth, you see this picture of George Leah, and you remember the movie Roots, the next generation. You see the way the way Chicken Joy was dressed. He dressed like this picture. So everybody that's listening, all you gotta do is just look up George or Chicken George, Leah, Lea, and you'll see Chicken George. That's who it is. You'll see who it is. That's him. The slave owner name was in North Carolina. Was named Tom Leah. Tom Leah. Lea. Tom Leah. And let me see what I was gonna say. The woman that they call Belle, if you look up Isabel Reynolds, says she was born in 1747. So if there's anybody that got any doubt about some of this information, they know that she was born in 1747, and she was owned by Dr. William Reynolds of Spotsylvania County, Virginia. But said before she arrived at the Reynolds plantation, see, Belle fell in love with a fellow slave named Ben, and when she was a teenager, and said that Ben and Belle had two daughters. And said when Ben tried to escape, when Ben she tried to help Ben escape. It said that he was hanged and the two daughters were sold off. So Belle had two daughters before she had kids by this slave named Ben. He was hanged for trying to escape. And then she met Kunta Kinte and then had another child, which was a girl. And Kunta Kinte named her Kizzy, which in the Mandingo language means stay put. And see, that's what happened to Kunta Kinte. See, he was on another plantation too, and he had got sold off to William Reynolds. According to this, it's saying Bill was in her 40s, and she still had she was still able to have a child, which was Kizzy. So, people can look it up, and you can accuse, it's been, as he been accused of plagiarism, but based on some of the records, you just can't accuse this man of lying or plagiarism or things of this nature. And then when you look up Chicken Joe Leah, then you'll see all the other family members, his children and grandchildren, great grand, all the way to Alex Haley. But for everybody that's listening, you look up George, Leah, which is Chicken George, you will see the picture of this man, and then you'll see the other pictures of the other, his son Tom, uh, and his daughters and things in nature, all the way to Alice Haley. Then on his daddy's side, on Alice Haley, daddy's side, Simon Haley. You see a picture of Simon Haley. I mean, it's very obvious that this man was, he was a very light complected man, very light complected. So his mama, on his mama's side, but then when you look up on Simon Haley's daddy's side, Alex Haley, it's some information that you find mistakes. Uh, they say who his dad and mama was. William William Bauch, Baugh, and Sabrina Haley. That's who Alec Haley, mama and daddy will. See, so, when you look up stuff, you'll find it's some records of some of these people. Early 1800s, 1700s, 1600s. It's some possible records. And then on Alice Haley mama's side, the cemetery, Bethlehem Cemetery. That's where a lot of the Haley family, not the hater, but on his mother's side, a lot of the people that left for Chicken George from Chicken George on down, including Chicken George White, Matilda, McGregor, all of them, you can find the majority of them are buried at Bethlehem Cemetery in Henry, Tennessee, right here in the state of Tennessee. And Alice Hayden, he was buried. They buried him next to the house where he grew up in. So I mean, so everybody is listening. Be interested, look the information up. It's a very interesting thing to see these people that Alex Haley wrote, made the movie about. These are actual people in his family, on the mama side and the daddy side. So that can encourage a lot of these people, including myself. Do some research on your own family. Do some research on your own family. It's by DNA and things. This next, see, it's a lot of people on your mama's side, on your dad's side. On your mama's side, you got a grandmama and a granddad. On your dad's side, you got a grandmama and a granddad. See, so you go back and do your own search on your own family tree, and things of nature. So, but let's get to this. Excuse me. Let's get to this Bible and this Holy Bible with this Hebrew language and this Holy Quran with this Arabic language, all this Afro-Asiatic stuff, and all this, and their culture and their customs. Okay, well, we're gonna go to Second Chronicles. In the Holy Bible, there's only 17 verses, so it's not gonna be that long.
ספר דברי הימים ב' פרק א' ויתחזק שלמה בן דוד על מלכותו ואדוני אלוהיו עמו ויגדלהו למעלה ויאמר שלמה לכל ישראל לשרי האלפים והמאות ולשופטים ולכל נשיא לכל ישראל ראשי האבות וילכו שלמה וכל הקהל עמו לבמה אשר בגבעון עשה משה עבד אדוני במדבר. אבל ארון האלוהים העלה דוד מקריית יערים, והכין לו דוד, כי נטע לו אוהל בירושלים. ומזבח הנחושת אשר עשה בצלאל בן אורי בן חור, שם לפני משכן אדוני, וידרשהו שלמה והקהל. ויעל שלמה שם על מזבח הנחושת לפני אדוני, אשר לאוהל מועד, ויעל עליו עולות ארץ. בלילה ההוא נראה אלוהים לשלמה ויאמר לו, שאל מה אתן לך. ויאמר שלמה לאלוהים, אתה עשית עם דוד אבי חסד גדול, והמלכתני תחתיו. אתה אדוני אלוהים, יאמן דברך עם דוד אבי, כי אתה המלכתני על עם רב בעבר הארץ. אתה חוכמה ומדע תן לי, ואשאה לפני העם הזה, ואבואה, כי מי ישפוט את עמך הזה הגדול? ויאמר אלוהים לשלמה, יען אשר הייתה זאת עם לבביך, ולא שאלת עושר וחסין וכבוד ואת נפש שונאיך, וגם ימים רבים לא שאלת, ותשאל לך חוכמה ומדע, אשר תשפוט את עמי אשר המלכתיך עליו. החוכמה והמדע נתון לך, ועושר ונכסים וכבוד אתן לך, אשר לא היה כן למלכים אשר לפניך, ואחריך לא יהיה כן. ויבוא שלמה לבמה אשר בגבעון ירושלים, ולפני אוהל מועד, וימלוך על ישראל. ויאסוף שלמה רכב ופרשים, ויהי לו 1,400 רכב ו12,000 פרשים, ויניחם בערי הלחם ועם המלך בירושלים. וייתן המלך את הקשת ואת הזהב בירושלים כמבלים, ואת הארזים נתן כשקמים אשר בשפלה לרוב. ומוצא הסוסים אשר לשלמה ממצרים, ומקווה סוחרי המלך מקווה יישאו במחיר. ויעלו ויוציאו ממצרים מרכבה ו600 כסף, וטיס ו50 ומאה, וכן לכל מלכי החיתים ומלכי ארם בידם יוציאו. ויאמר שלמה לבנות בית לשם אדוני ובית למלכותו. ויספור שלמה 70,000 איש כבאי, ו80,000 איש חוצב בהר, ומנצחים עליהם 3,600. וישלח שלמה אל חורם מלך אור לאמור, אשר עשית עם דוד אבי, ותשלח לו ארזים לבנות לו בית לשבת בו. הנה אני בונה בית לשם אדוני אלוהי, להקדיש לו, להקטיר לפניו קטורת סמלים ומערכת תמיד, ועולות לבוקר ולערב, לשבתות ולחודשים ולמועדי אדוני אלוהינו, לעולם זאת על ישראל. לבנות לו בית, והשמיים ופני השמיים לא יכלכלוהו, ומי אבי אשר אבנה לו בית, ואם להפקיר ועכשיו שלח לי את אדם לעשות בזהב ובכסף ובנחושת ובברזל ובהרקדן וחרמי ותכלת, ויודע לפתח פלפולים בין החכמים אשר המליצו יהודה ובירושלים, אשר הקים דוד אבי. ושלח לי עשי ארזים וראשים ואלבומים מעל לבנון, והני ידעתי אשר עבדיך יודעים לכרות עצי לבנון, והנה עבדי בין עבדיך. ולהכין לי חצים לרוב, כי הבית אשר אני בונה גדול והפלא. ויתן לחוטבים לכורתי העצים נתתי חצים מכות לעבדיך, קוראים 20 כאלה, ושעורים קוראים 20 כאלה, ויין בתים 20 כאלה, ושמן בתים 20 כאלה. ויאמר חורם מלך צור בכתב, וישלח אל שלמה באהבת אדוני את עמו, ושבחה עליהם מלך. ויאמר חורם, ברוך אדוני אלוהי ישראל אשר עשה את השמיים ואת הארץ, אשר נתן לדוד המלך בן חכם יודע חקר ובינה, אשר יבנה בית לאדוני ובית למלכותו. ועכשיו שלחתי את חכם יודע בינה לכולם אבי, בן אישה מן בנות שרי, ואביר איש תוהי, יודע לעשות הזהב והכסף, הנחושת בברזל, והאבנים ובחיצים, והמגנון בתכלת ובכסף ובתרמיל, ולפתח כל פיתוח, ולחשוב כל מחשבת אשר ינבטן לו.
All right, that was the Holy Bible, the Old Testament, Second Chronicles, the first chapter in Hebrew. And Hebrew, you can go to this YouTube channel, the Holy Language Institute, learn biblical Hebrew. So we're gonna go to the New Testament. Go to 2 Timothy in the New Testament, 2 Timothy, first chapter.
בהתאם להבטחת החיים אשר במשיח ישוע, אל תימותאוס בני האהוב, חסד ורחמים ושלום מאת אלוהים האב והמשיח ישוע אדוננו. אני מודה לאלוהים אשר בעקבות אבותיי אני עובד אותו במצפון טהור, ואינני חדל לזכור אותך בתפילותיי יומם ולילה. זכורות לי דמעותיך ואני נכתב לראותך למען אמלא שמחה. זוכר אני את אמונתך הכנה, אמונה ששכנה תחילה באלוהיס כתבתך, והבניקה עמך, ובטוחני שהיא שוכנת גם בך. על כן אני מזכירך לעורר את מתנת אלוהים אשר הוענקה לך בשמיכת ידי. אין האלוהים לא נתן לנו רוח של פחד, אלא רוח של גבורה ואהבה ויישוב הדעת. אל תבוש, לא בעדות אדוננו ולא בי הבחירות, אלא סבול איתי את חבלי התבואה כפי כוח האלוהים המושיע אותנו וקורא אותנו בקריאה קדושה, לא לפי מעשינו, אם לפי תוכניתו ולפי חסדו הנתון לנו במשיח ישוע ולפני עיתות עולם. וכעת נגלה כוחו בהופעת מושיענו המשיח ישוע, המבטל את המוות ומוציא לאור את החיים והעל כליון על ידי הבשורה. בשורה זאת אני נתמניתי לה לחרוז ושליח ומורה, ובעבורה אני סובל גם את הדברים האלה. אך אינני בוש, כי יודע אני במי האמנתי, ובטוח אני ויכול לשמור את פיקדוני ליום ההוא. החזיק במתכונת הדברים הבריאים אשר שמעת ממני, באמונה ובאהבה אשר במשיח ישוע. שמור את הפיקדון הטוב בעזרת רוח הקודש השוכנת בנו. זאת אתה יודע, שעזבו אותי כל אלה אשר באסיה, בצלם, פיקלוס והרמוגני. ויציע אדון רחמים על בית אוניסיפורוס, כי פעמים רבות עודדת נפשי ולא בוש בדבריי. אדרבה, בהיותו ברומא, שקד לחפשני עד כי לצעני. ייתן לו אדון למצוא רחמים מלפני אדוני ביום ההוא. אתה יודע היטב עד כמה ירבה לשרת באפסו.
So that was 2 Timothy in the New Testament of the Holy Bible in Hebrew. And the YouTube channel you can go to is the Holy Language Institute, Learn Biblical Hebrew. And this Afro-Asiatic Hebrew, all that. So let's go to the Holy Quran and And we're going to the YouTube channel, The Meaning of Islam. We're going to chapter 89. Chapter 89.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. In the name of Allah, the entirely merciful, the especially merciful. والفجر, by the dawn. وليال عشر, and by the 10 nights. والشفع والوتر, and by the even number and the odd. والليل إذا يسر, and by the night when it passes. هل في ذلك قسم لذي حجر, is there not in all that an oath sufficient for one of perception? ألم تر كيف فعل ربك بعاد, have you not considered how your Lord dealt with Ad? إرم ذات العماد, with Iram, who had lofty pillars. التي لم
Allergy
يخلق
medicine not working?
مثلها
Try
في
Basicort for effective relief.
البلاد.
It relieves the worst
The
nasal
light
allergy
people
symptoms,
had never
even
been
congestion.
created in the
It's
land.
non-addictive, scent and
وثمود
alcohol-free, and has no harsh taste.
الذين
For 24-hour allergy relief, Basicort.
بالواد. And with Thamud, who carved out the rocks in the valley. وفرعون ذي الأوتاد, and with Pharaoh, owner of estates. الذين طغوا في البلاد, all of whom oppressed within the lands. فأكثروا فيها الفساد, and increased therein the corruption. فصب عليهم ربك سوط عذاب, so your Lord poured upon them a scourge of punishment. إن ربك لبالمرصاد, indeed, your Lord is in observation. فأما الإنسان إذا ما ابتلاه ربه فأكرمه ونعمه فيقول ربي أكرمن. And as for man, when his Lord tries him, thus he generously and favors him, he says, my Lord has honored me. وأما إذا ما ابتلاه فقدر عليه رزقه فيقول ربي أهانن. But when he tries him and has fixed his provision, he says, my Lord has humiliated me. كلا بل لا تكرمون اليتيم. No, but you do not honor the orphan. ولا تحاضون
Well, that was uh, the Holy Quran, that was chapter. Um, uh, oh, okay. Mhm. That was chapter 89. Uh, and I was listening to Tina Turner there, and big shout out to Tina Turner. And so, like I said, that was the Holy Quran, chapter 89 in Arabic with the English translation. All this Afro-Asiatic culture and customs and things of that nature. So, and the YouTube channel was the meaning of Islam. Now we're going to go to a book written by Dr. John S. M.B., Concepts of God in Africa. We're in part 3 of this book, Anthropomorphic and Natural Attributes of God. We did number 8 yesterday, so let's go to number 9, God and Animals. It starts on page 98, goes to 107. Start with the June. The Barosi relate that originally God gave animals to the first men to be their brothers, forbidding men to eat them. But the men disobeyed him and killed and ate the animals. For this reason, God withdrew himself from men. The Lili, on the other hand, considered the animals to have been given by God to men for food, though remaining under his power. The Zulu tell how, having created the animals, God gave them names. He looked on all things and said, so and so is the name of everything. The Keundi narrate that cruel animals came from one of the three pots which God gave to a bird to take to the early men, but which it opened on the way, contrary to God's instructions. Domestic animals, dog, cattle, sheep, goats, and horses. The dog, at one of their myths concerning the origin of death, the Nandai say that the dog came to the first men, bringing with it a threatening message that if they did not give it food, it would cause them to die. The message said, furthermore, that if they gave the dog food, it would cause them to rise again after 3 days. The men segregated themselves against the dog, set food before it, but on a stool, and laughed at it. Consequently, the dog cursed them to die and not return to life. The Herero believed that the dog was God's gift to men for their monthly rites. The Butuwe sacrifice and feast upon black dogs at their sacred caves. Yaruba blacksmiths sacrifice dogs to their divinity of iron. The Wajawa celebrate their planting and harvesting festivals with the slaughtering and eating of dogs. Every 12th month, the Kome sacrifice a dog and feed their king with its tail to renew his investiture for another similar period. Cattle and milk. The Zulu believe that cattle sprang from the same spot as did human beings, and that God gave them to men for sustenance, saying, let them be your food, eat their flesh and their milk. They, however, consider the cattle to belong to God, and when lightning strikes them, the people simply say that the Lord has taken the cattle, or the Lord has slaughtered for himself among his own food. Is it yours? Is it not the Lord's? He is hungry. He kills for himself. The people take this as a blessing and say, this village will be prosperous. They believe that God created grass and ordered cattle to eat it. The Hariro God cattle is sacred and as having originated from this mythical tree of life. For them, cattle have a primarily religious significance, and it is prohibited to get rid of them. Excuse me. They eat them only when sacrificed in religious ceremonies. The Akembe say that cattle, sheep, and goats accompany the first pair of human beings, which God lowered from the sky. As such, these domestic animals are part of man's life. The Maasai consider themselves to be the rightful owners of all cattle, believing that God gave them cattle from the very beginning. They think that nobody else has the right to own cattle, and that they are therefore entitled to raid cattle from other peoples without feeling that they are committing theft or robbery. The Topase narrate that when the first men descended on a rope from heaven, they found cattle on earth, tasted their milk, liked it, and decided to domesticate them. The Noah believed that God gave them cattle for sustenance. They tell in a myth that Noah and Dinka were sons of God, and he promised to give the old cow to Dinka and her calf to Noah. But Dinka went at night to God and imitating Noah's voice, deceived him, so God gave Dinka the calf. Afterwards, when God discovered what had happened, he charged Noah to raid Dinka's cattle to the end of time. In another myth, the Noah tells that once God offered men a choice between cattle and rifles. The Europeans and Arabs chose rifles, but the Noah and Dinka chose cattle. They regard all cattle as belong to God, and when one of them dies, the people simply say, like the Zulu, that God has taken what is his own. The Bovinde keep sacred cattle. The Nenda pray daily to God for safety and prosperity of their cattle. The Dinka consider both cattle and children to be gifts from God and to belong ultimately to him. For them, every bull or ox is destined ultimately for sacrifice. Each beast represents the community of the people present at a sacrifice, though their eating of the flesh is not a communion meal or mystical communion as that word has been used in anthropological literature. Human beings and cattle are substituted for each other and are symbolically linked. They give personal names. To their cattle, and it is bad to number them or children. At times, the Dinka value cattle above human life, dying and killing to a crowd or defend them. The Banyoro has divinities for cattle welfare. The Watumbatu believe that the world rests on the horn of a cow, and when one horn gets tired, she transfers the world to the other horn, in the process of which there is an earthquake. A man from the Lango reported that he was taken up by God to the other world from away in the invisible sky, where he saw innumerable reddish black men and cattle. Many peoples use cattle for sacrifice, about which we will say more in the fourth section of this work. Milk is the principal food of the Hariro. They milk their cattle both morning and evening by the holy fire. The priest chief must first taste the milk before anyone else drinks it, for it is regarded to be holy, and this tasting neutralizes its holiness, making it harmless for human use. At harvest time, the Nanda pray for milk, among other items, thinking that spirits of the departed relatives travel in the bodies of snakes, rats, and moles. The people offer milk and beer to these animals. The Sioux, their neighbors, do the same, offering milk to the spirits. thought to travel in snakes, sheep, and goats. These are used by many peoples for sacrifices, an account of which is given in the fourth section of this book. The account may believe that sheep and goats accompanied the first pair of human beings which God lowered from the sky. The, the Bambuti tale of a mystical celestial goat which God sent to earth and from which sprang all other animals finally dropped their kid and returned to God. They refer to all game, which together with fruit gathering is the source of their sustenance as the goats of God. Among the Berunda, the sheep is regarded as holy, and people do not eat it. They believe that the departed might be living in it when teaching their children. The Chaga tell them that good men are blessed by God with sheep and goats. A number of peoples use the sheep for reconciliation rites. Among the Kikuyu, a person who offends his father gives him a sheep or a he-goat and beer. This is a sign of repentance on the part of the son, who thereby searches for appeasement and reconciliation. The Turu regard the sheep as a thing of God and use it as a symbol of reconciliation because it is gentle and amicable. The Lubari say that the sheep is a distinct animal, a thing of God. When used in rites, it brings people into contact with God, but the Lubari do not offer it as sacrifice to him, although a ram's blood is offered with prayers to God. The horse, the Junjun picture of God is sitting on a horse. Wild animals. Africa has still a wide variety of wild animals, and many of them are mentioned in connection or associated with God or concepts pertaining to Him. Our written information tend to leave out these animals, though many animal folk stories are available. Elephants. The El Guillo narrate that elephants accompanied the first man whom God sent down to the earth. The Nanda hold that when God came to prepare the earth, he found an elephant, thunder, and a Dorobo man. The man killed the elephant, and when Thunder saw it, it became frightened and fled to the sky, leaving man in possession of everything on earth. According to the Taga, elephants originated from the transformation of the people whom God destroyed on account of their wickedness. The Lango associate God with the buffalo and other fierce animals. The Chaga hold that the elands originated from the transformation of cattle belonging to the wicked men whom God destroyed. The Shone consider the zebra to be a sacred totem with which they associate their worship of God. The lion is for the Turu a symbol of punishment and protection, and an aspect of God's manifestation in his most terrifying forms. The women perform an initiation rite of going into the forest to catch the lion. This experience is said to be the most dangerous procedure in Turu thought. The Lango also consider God excuse the Lango also consider God to be associated with the lion and other fierce animals. According to Chaga mythology, leopards originated from the transformation of dogs belonging to the men whom God destroyed on account of their wickedness. The Lango consider God's power to be present in the leopard and other fierce animals. The southern Karume are said to revere the leopard, regarding its flesh as taboo. This probably means that the animal is a totem of one of the clans. One Akambe clan has the leopard as its totem. The Lozai narrate that originally God lived on earth among men and had two counselors, one of whom was an antelope. These two acted as intermediaries between him and men. The Lili diviners regard water, pigs as animals most highly charged with spiritual power. For the Chaga, Both pigs and porcupines came from the transformed sheep of the wicked men whom God destroyed. In the same chaga myth, the hyena is said to have originated from the transformation of dogs. According to the Miru, God sent the mole to take to men the message and gift of the resurrection. On the way, it met the hyena, who inquired concerning the message. On hearing that men would rise again, the hyena feared that it would not have enough to eat, so it threatened to kill the mole unless the latter promised to alter the message to the effect that men would die and not rise again. The mole agreed to this, and so the message reached men in a form contrary to what God had originally sent it. The Fajulu Madai and Noah blamed the hyena for having cut off the cow skin rope which once joined the earth to heaven. The Lubare believed that God uses the hyena to show his intention. The Turu considered it to be one of the animals in whose form God manifests himself in his eminent aspects. The Sademo regard it as an intermediary between God and their chief ritual experts. We are told that the Gayame venerate the hyena, but the information does not say under what circumstance. Among the Ndebele, the rainmakers belong to the monkey or baboon clan. The Shone think that the monkey is God's totem. Among a number of peoples, the hare is associated with the message or loss of human immortality. The Herero tell that the moon sent the hare to bring to men the message of immortality. The hare delivered the message but with the wrong interpretation. The result was that death appeared among men. For that reason, the moon punished the hare, though it continues to nestle there. In a similar myth, the Hottentots tell that the hare got confused and added a knot to the moon's message. It now reached men in the form of, as I die and die and born again, so you shall die and die and not be born again. The moon was annoyed, hit the hare with a stick, and split the lip. The Eli narrate that the hare was the messenger of mortality because the chameleon, which carried the message of immortality, loitered en route. Therefore, the hare, being faster in movement, arrived before the chameleon and gave men the tragic news. During severe droughts, the Akambe captured the rock hyena and sacrificed it to God when praying for rain. At other ceremonies, they may use its dung. The Bakwine used kidney portions of the hyrax as one of the ingredients for rain making. We have mentioned the Miru myth, according to which the mole was sent by God to take the message of the resurrection to men. On the way, it was threatened by the hyena and changed the message. The Miru go on to tell us that on return to God, the mole reported what had transpired. When God heard it, he punished the mole to live far away from me in heaven. Since then, the mole lives in the earth, coming out only at night when men do not see it, lest they should destroy it. The Nandai believe that their departed return to people's homes, traveling in the bodies of moles or rats, animals that creep, crawl, leap, or swim. The snake. There are many concepts connected with the snake. Some of the examples we have here do not directly link God with the snake, but they are relevant to our discussion in this book. There are mythological ideas about snakes. The El Gio tell that God sent to earth a man and a snake with the instruction that the man was not to eat any food until God arrived. When the two reached the earth, the snake persuaded the man to eat before God's arrival. On discovering it, God punished the snake by compelling it to move on its stomach. The Miru have a myth according to which the snake deceived the first men and caused them to eat forbidden fruit. Consequently, God cursed the snake to the effect that his head shall be crushed. The Herero considered the serpent to belong to the netherworld and to be associated with the red color. They say that it plays part in the function of priests as physicians. Some people connect the snake with rejuvenation and immortality. The Chaga tell a myth according to which the first man and his children were permitted by God to remove their skins like snakes in order to renew or rejuvenate their youth. Unfortunately, they lost this gift. The Vugusu believe that the snake has been blessed with the gifts of immortality and rejuvenation because it was kind to the chameleon, whereas men were not. On getting old, snakes simply have to remove their skins and they are young once more. So the people believe the Sadamo regard snakes as immortal. Some take the rainbow to be a snake. Thus, the Bambuti consider the rainbow and lightning to be God's vassals dwelling in heaven. They say that the lightning is a person, the rainbow a serpent. The Makaraka hold that the rainbow is a large python dwelling in an anthill and is attended by their rainmaker. According to the fund, God has an assistant whose name they means serpent. This assistant governs life and emotion and has many manifestations. The chief of which is the rainbow. The Bushmen regard rain to be a supernatural being which protects snakes, fish, tortoises, and frogs. In one example, we hear that the Sadamo consider snakes and hyenas to be an intermediary between God and their chief ritual expert. The people believe that the python in particular is a manifestation of a divine being. They rear pythons in houses, feeding them with meat. Some people have sacred snakes. These include the Benyoro, Beira, Bimbe, Gasu, Turu, and Zale. The Zale are said to venerate them. The Bimbe and Gasu make sacrifices to them, and Turu keep pythons which may not be killed. The Beira consider God in his earthly aspect to be manifested in a non-poisonous green snake, which appears frequently around people's homes. The Turu also take the python to be one of God's manifestations in his imminent aspect. A considerable number of people associate snakes with the spirits of the departed. The Acholi and Alua think that spirits manifest themselves in snake form. The Darubo believe that the spirits return to them in bodies of snakes in order to get food and drink. In the same area, the Suk hold a similar view, and when snakes enter their houses, people give them milk and are careful not to kill them. The Nanda do the same, offering the snakes beer and milk. The Ndebele believe that the departed may be reborn in harmless snakes which people do not kill. So also the Maasai hold that the soul of a rich or important man turns into a snake, and that the departed forefather return in forms of snakes to visit their relative. The Gande consider pythons and big snakes to be representations of the divinities or of other spirits. The Zulu say that the departed turn into snakes and people are said to pray to or speak with them. The Ambo picture God as having a scaly tail like that of the crocodile, with which he causes fire and lightning when shaken. The Zulu take the crocodiles to be horses of the spirit of their river, the Omo. The lizard appears in myths of many peoples as the messenger who brought the news from God that men should die. But the lizard was sent only after the dispatch of the message. of immortality or resurrection through another messenger when this other messenger, for one reason or another, failed to deliver the message quickly. It is generally the chameleon which is said to have carried the message of immortality or resurrection. The swift movement of the lizard contrasts well with the slow one of the chameleon. The peoples who tell these myths include the Bembe, Lambe, Ngoni, Tiswane, Zulu, and others. The chameleon is widely featured in myths dealing with the coming of death. Although there are variations to these myths, the common content is that God sent the chameleon to inform men that they will live forever or rise again after dying. The chameleon loitered on the way or stammered in delivering the message or altered it slightly but significantly. Meanwhile, God sent another message to inform men that they would die and never rise again. The new messenger, a lizard, hare, weaver, bird, or another animal, arrived or delivered the message before the chameleon did so. This myth is spread all over Africa among peoples like the Akambe, Bembe, Ale, Lembe, Ngoni, Tonge, Ya, Zulu, and many others. In a different version, the Bogusu tells that the chameleon cursed mankind to die because someone refused to give it food. When the snake gave it food, it blessed the snake with the gift of immortality. The Bambuti have a better regard for the chameleon. They consider it to be the most sacred animal because it climbs up to the top of the trees and is therefore nearest to the deity. They are careful not to maltreat it. In one myth, they say that the chameleon was responsible for the flow of water throughout the world after God had created the world. It was the chameleon then which dug up the first well out of which water sprang all over the earth. The frog is said by peoples like the Tonge and Yao to have carried the message of death from God to mankind. The Bambuti narrate that in the time of the first men, an old woman died and God asked the frog to keep watch over her body, intending to raise her to life. But the toad demanded the body, to which God agreed, but on condition that the toad did not fall into the pit near which the body was resting. As the toad kept vigil over the corpse, it accidentally or deliberately fell into the pit together with the corpse. Misfortune now followed, as the old woman could not be brought to life again. The toad jumped into a deep pool and hid himself in the mud. Since then, death has remained in the world. The Baymoon believed that God announces the birth of a child through the medium of a toad, and if one enters the house, it is honored and anointed with palm oil. References to fish are not many. The Tia narrate in a myth that the first man and wife lived entirely on fish for a long time until God came down and showed them other food and the art of cultivation. The Shilluk hold that their national hero Inyakon captured fish among other animals and turned them into human beings who now compose the commoners in their society. The Nuer believed that God gave them the spearfish in addition to cattle and millet for their sustenance. The Merle used fish as offerings, sacrifices, believing that fish are God's messengers which come to earth in the likeness. The Didinga do their best to avoid them. In some parts of the Igbo country, it is forbidden to fish because the people believe that fish embody the souls of the departed. The Bushmen represent rain or water as a supernatural being which protects fish and other animals. Birds. Of the birds, the chicken are used most for religious purposes, mainly as sacrifice. Nearly all African homes have chickens running about, and almost every person can afford a hen or a cock. They are neither expensive nor difficult to handle, since they are small. However, not many people in a group can partake of their meat when one is slaughtered. For these reasons, chickens are sacrificed more by individuals or family groups than by regional or larger communities. If sacrificed by larger groups, they are normally in addition to sheep, goats, or cattle. The following peoples are said to sacrifice chickens: Abaluya, white hen, a Akambe of one color, the Banyoro, Besoge, Utaba, Gande, white, Gamire, Maji, the, the Gisu, the Gopher, white cock, the Igbo, Lubare, by stick individuals, Luo, Morawi, Moro, Sibi, Walemo, Ojawa, cock, and Zale. There are also other religious uses of or association with chickens. The Akambe and Bundi use chickens for divination. The Barundi regard hens as holy and fear that they might be vehicles of the departed, for which reason they do not eat them. The Ganda say that their divinity of the air and space comes down in form of a white cock or goat. The Abaluya narrate that God created a big reddish monster which lives in the clouds. Thunder is its crowning, and lightning the shaker of its wings. Other birds. The Tupuse tell a myth according to which during the primeval period a bird flew from earth to heaven carrying a rope with which it established a bridge between the two worlds. Before then, people lived only in heaven, but with the new bridge, they were now able to slide down to the earth. And in this way, the earth was populated with mankind. In the Akambi myth, the weaver bird brought the message of death to mankind. When the chameleon failed to bring that of an immortality in time, the King Undi tells the myth in which God sent the bird that leads people to honey with 3 pots to take to the first men. Against God's instruction, the bird opened the pots on the way, and out came all sorts of evil. The Hariro associate God with the eagle, and possibly the Bavinde do the same. Since the names for both are related, the Nuer consider the birds which fly high up in the sky to be children of God. When these migrate and disappear seasonally, people say that they had gone to visit God's country. The Ganda designate the wagtail to be the prime minister of God, or the mediator between him and his people. When their chief dies, the Rukube believe that his spirit resides temporarily in a star or bird. The Burundi has sacred birds which it is forbidden to kill. The Sonjo expect a large flock of birds to eclipse the sun just before the world comes to an end. Insects. Both the Bavinde and Shone consider locusts to be an expression of God's punishment upon them. The Bavinde believe that they are one of God's revelation and that they live in an enormous cave in the sky, which God opens with when he is angry with their chief. The Lango also consider locusts to be one manifestation of God's power. The Tonga associate a species of them with God. believing that he sends them together with other evils to harm men. The Sukume and Yamwizi imagine that the locusts are kept in a box by a dangerous spirit subordinate to God. When this spirit lifts off the lid, out go the locusts, which immediately spread everywhere, causing great damage on earth. Bees and honey. According to Bambudi belief, when a person dies, his soul is carried by bees or flies to God. The Songjo expect a large swarm of bees to eclipse the sun just before the end of the world. In a figure of speech, the Chaga pray God to make them bear abundantly like bees. From every honeycomb they find, the Bakwe offer portions of honey to God as a token of thanksgiving. When the Moru are searching for water, they offer honey to God and solicit his aid. Flies and maggots. The few examples we have point to an association of flies with spirits of the departed or with the next world. The Bambuti believe that flies or bees carry the soul to God after death. The Lozai say that those who do not wear the tribal mark are rejected when they come to the next world. Then they are given flies to eat and are put on a road which leads nowhere but gets narrower and narrower till it ends in a desert where the person dies of hunger and thirst. One man from the Lango people, who is said to have been taken up to the other world where he stayed for 4 days, reported that in the other world people ate flies. He went on to say that when he was offered flies for food, he refused to eat them and was therefore sent back to this world. When the Banya Wonder make a sacrifice, they return a day or more later to see whether there are maggots in the meat. If they find them, they interpret this as a good sign that God has sent spirits to eat their sacrifice. The Lord speak metaphorically about themselves in the sight of God and liken their smallness to that of ants. They say that they are like small black ants. This is a sign of humility before God. The mantis, though a little creature, plays an important role in Bushman mythology and life. The Cape Bushman people think that the mantis created the moon and is able to resurrect people. They give it great respect but do not pray to it. The Lesotho Bushmen consider it to have created all things and to be concerned with food supply. They pray to it, possibly as an intermediary for food, hunting success, and other necessities. The spider is another small creature featured in many myths from all over Africa. In one such myth, the Losai tell that when God left men on earth, he climbed up the spider's web to go to his heavenly city, Latome, so that the spiders would not show men the way. He put out their eyes. Among their kin, the spider is the common hero in folklore. Both the kin and Ashanti praise God by a title which means the great spider, that is, the wise one. We will return to animals in the fourth part of this book when we consider the sacrifices and offerings. Many of the concepts we have encountered in this chapter have been of a mythological nature. More research is needed in this as in other subjects to shed light on what African peoples actually think and say about the world of animals and its relationship with God. Now that's the end of that one, and I'm going to end it on that part because the next part will be number 10, God and plants. So we'll come back to that on the next video. And what we've been reading from The book titled Concepts of God in Africa. Dr. John S.M.B. Concepts of God in Africa. Dr. John S.M.B. We're going to be reading from West African traditional religion. West African traditional religion. This book has been written by Dr. Joseph Obaseda Avalelu and Dr. P. Adalomo Depenu. Okay, A. Divinities among the Yoruba. Because as you know, we stopped on page 78 yesterday, and that's where we started. We're on coming to number A. Divinities among the Yoruba. Orise Inlay, as we have earlier pointed out, this is the Yoruba arch divinity. He is also known as Obatale. He is the creator divinity in that he was commissioned by the supreme deity to create the solid earth, equip it, and mold the physical form of man. Although his role in the creation of man is limited to molding alone, it is believed that it is his prerogative to make the human form shapely or ugly as he likes it. Orise Inlay is often described as the deputy or vicegerent or son of Olodumare, but his role, position, and authority are derived from and delegated by God, and so Orise Inlay has no absolute power or authority of his own. Orise Inlay has certain attributes which tell of his nature and character. His name, Ubatale, suggests that he is the king of whiteness, or the lord of the white cloth. In fact, everything associated with Orise Inlay is usually white. His temple is whitewashed. His emblems are white chalk in white containers. His priests and priestesses are usually clad in white with white ornaments. His sacrifice consists of bloodless, small, and shea butter. The water in his shrine must be changed every day to retain a degree of absolute cleanliness. In this sense, Orise Inlay is regarded as the god of purity. He therefore represents the holiness of God. Orise Inlay, as the god of purity and holiness, demands a high sense of morality. The lives of all his worshippers shall be as pure, clean, and clear as water drawn early in the morning from an undisturbed, unpopulated spring. Another attribute of Orise Inlay is Alabalasi, he who proposes and also disposes. Primarily and by the meaning of this appendage, God should be referred to by this title. But this title only refers to Orise Inlay's great powers. Great power as the prosperer who wields the scepter. The scepter, according to Yoruba belief, was passed on to him by God himself, and he could not be regarded as the absolute purposer, proposer, and disposer of things. This can only be said of God. Since he received the scepter from God, the human king then becomes derivatively a divine ruler when a Rise inlay passes the scepter on to him. When Rise inlay is universally worshipped in Yoruba land, in many places one can see his temple, priests, and priestesses are dedicated to him. Barren women usually take their petition to him so that they may be blessed with children. In the same way, water taken from his shrine is given to pregnant women so that their children may be sharply molded. Invalids are also treated with such water from his shrine. The water is usually drawn very early in the morning. The drawer must not talk to anybody from the time she rises from her bed until she fetches the water from the spring. I'm gonna stop right there, and we're gonna come back on the next video, and we're gonna go to the next one, which is over on my lake. So we're gonna stop right there. The chapter we read from is the divinities. The divinities on page. We stopped on page 79. And again, the book we've been reading from, West African Traditional Religion, written by Dr. Joseph Omasede Ewolelu and written by Dr. P. Adalomo Lupemu. We're on page 83. And the book we read from, African Traditional Religion, a definition by E. Baloji Adowu. African Traditional Religion, a definition. Book written by Dr. E. Baloji Adowu. We're on starting on page 83. Sources. Number 2, sources. In Oludumare, God and Yoruba belief, I have made a list of the oral traditions according to Yoruba's culture. The same pattern, more or less, through, will obtain throughout Africa. Whatever may be our difficulty, in handling this delicate material, it is all that we have, and we have to make the best of it. This is, in fact, why it has been said that imaginative sympathy and, where possible, express participation should be part of the equipment of the scholar who is reaching into any religion. An understanding of the oral traditions will enable the scholar to see and how the religion from the inside. Africa in, in her every locality is rich in mythology and folk tales. Records of these have been made from time to time, but in most cases their value for religious studies is still to be appreciated. There is, of course, the problem of correct interpretation of these traditions. First, it is necessary in this regard to listen carefully and get at the inner meaning of each of them. Secondly, it is also necessary to remember that the African situation is one in which life is not divided artificially into the sacred and the secular, that is one in which reality is regarded as one, in which the things of earth, material things, and man's daily doings and involvement have meaning only in terms of the heavenly, the spiritual, reckoning with the transcendent, and that part of man which has linked with the super sensible world. Thirdly, a doctrine is not necessarily unhistorical or merely imaginary, simply because it is mythological. The Pocket Oxford Dictionary is rather misleading in this is leading is rather misleading in this connection. It defines myth as primitive tale imaginatively describing or accounting for natural phenomena, tale of gods or demigods, old wives' tale prevalent with false belief, personal things falsely supposed to exist, and mythical as imaginary, not really existing exist, existence. The meaning attached to myth is of a better is of a to myth is of a later development. Originally, mythos is anything delivered by word of mouth, speech, conversation, implying the subject of the conversation. The matter itself. One use of the word one use of the word as an element of the oral traditions must necessarily bear this original meaning. Although the fact of imagination properly defined must be given due respect. A myth is man's experience in his encounter with the created order, and it endeavors to probe and answer questions about origins and meaning and purposes. These answers are naturally divided. They These answers are naturally clothed in stories which serve as means of keeping them in the in the memory as well as handing them down from generation to generation. Every cult has its set liturgy. Liturgy consists of the pattern as well as the subject matter of worship. It is here, in fact, that exper- experimental Participation will be of immense belief to the researcher in an invitation in an unwritten liturgy for any longer. The thing does not annul the same when, when recite their very own, see what, their very, their very often it is either inaccurately said or stumbling said. Liturgy may be defined as the means of communication and commission with deity within the setting of worship. For the purpose of study, the following elements in liturgy should be taken into account. A. The implication this during this it should be taken into account. For the purpose of study, the following elements in liturgy should be taken into account. The invocation during this, a rattle or an instrument of the same import is sounded, and the libation is poured. The divine being is called by names and attributes and summoned to attend worship. B. Prayers. In these, the needs of the worshipers are expressed, and the divine being besought to satisfy them. Thus, from the liturgies of African traditional religion, we learn the names and the attributes of deity or the divinities, the confidence and hopes of the people, the capability believed to belong to deity, and the fact of the general relationships between deity and man. There is usually a certain body of systematic recitals connected with the cult of the oracle divinity. I am not concerned, I am not certain if such is to be found everywhere in Africa. I have pointed to the existence and value of these in the Yoruba oral traditions. Whenever a body of cultic recitals of this nature is in existence, it would be of immense value to make a careful study of it. That is because it usually enshrines the philosophy, theology, and often shadowing and often something of the history of the people. We have the songs. These constitute a rich heritage of all Africans. Africans are always singing, and in their singing and poetry, they express themselves all the joys and, and sorrows of their hearts, and there express themselves all the prayers, all the joys and sorrows of their hearts in their hearts, and their hopes and fears about the future find outlet. Singing is always a way of conveying certain sentiments or truth when they are Connected with rituals, they convey the faith of worship. The faith of worship is from the heart. Faith in deity, belief in and about the divinity, assurance and hopes about the present and with regard to the hereto, to the hereafter. Scripture. In each people's songs, there is a wealth of material for the scholar who will patiently sift and collate. And finally, those pithy sayings, proverbs, and adages, which are the same, which are the sine qua non of African speech. They are to be found in abundance everywhere, and it can be astonishing how much they alone can teach us about religion in Africa. These oral traditions constitute the scripture as well as the braveries of African traditional religion. Therefore, no one can expect to see the religion from the inside unless he proceeds through them. They are, in fact, probably of more value to the student than some printed scriptures and common orders, because they are indeed living and active. In the past, casual observations about African traditional religion were made by the outside European travelers, explorers, civil servants, and missionaries. Then anthropologists and ethnographers have become interested in the field and began to present the Western world with written information about Africa. To almost all of these centuries of current anthropology and the field began to present the Western world with written information about Africa. So almost all of these categories of observers or investigators. Religion was just one of the elements in Africa's widely varied range of activities. Okay. Western investigators, by and large, had looked at the religion of Africa from the general European's point of view, and then each investigator or observer, according to his own special or specialist investigator or order or observer, according to his own special or specialist line of interest. The travelers had their tales to tell, and their curious religious habit would naturally lend spice to the table. If the explorer could add to his reports something about the ritual practices of the privileges, it would certainly make his report less boring. A especially if he made his description as fantastic as possible. The missionary had no use for the religion which he had prejudged before he left home to be an expression of benignness, something that came out to fight and kill, that set the limits for the resurrection. Wait a minute. The missionary had no use for the religion which he had prejudged before he left home to be an expression of benignness, something that he came out to fight and kill, that set the limit to his interest in the religion, and therefore whatever he said about it was in condemnation. Nevertheless, it was out of this assortment of investigators that the few and far between who become uh, genuinely interested in the religious tradition and practices of Africa. Tradition and practices of Africa first emerged. These first saw that here was something that worth studying for as its own sake. There came the time when there were missionaries who began to feel that a knowledge of the Africans from the inside was necessary for the success of their work, or evangelism. Evangelism. For how can you speak to a person whom you do not understand and who does not understand you and who does not understand you? And we're going to stop on that one. That's where we stop at. Because the next one will be number 3. Stages hitherto in the study. So we just got to read. So we start on page so we come back. So we start on page 107. We start on page 107. So we come back. We start on chapter 4, the nature of African traditional religion. So that we're going to do next time. The book we've been reading from, African Traditional Religion, a Definition. E. Dr. E. Beloji Dowu. All right, we're going to read right now is African traditional religion, a conceptual and philosophical analysis. Reverend Emeke C. Ikiki, University of Calabar, Nigeria. What we're going to be reading from now is the concept of evil, ethics, and justice in African traditional religion. The concept of evil in African traditional religion. The concept of evil in African traditional religion is the notion of taboos, of what is morally wrong. According to Mbidi, in every African indigenous society, there exist many laws, customs, set forms of behavior, regulations, rules, observances, and taboos, which constitute the moral code and ethics of a given community or society. 1969, 205. There are many things held to be morally wrong and evil, such as robbery, murder, rape, telling lies, stealing, being cruel, saying bad words, showing disrespect, practicing sorcery or witchcraft, interfering with public rights, backbiting, greed or selfishness, breaking promises, and so on. Whoever does them is considered to be a bad or evil person. MB, 1975. 1975, 178. Taboos may, however, be religious, social, economic, or political, or a combination of one or two or even all of these classifications at once. Udo in Bassi Il Udo explains further that the Ibibio people believe that if the taboos, the divine prohibitions, were not observed, the earth will be unable to give forth her increase, either in crops or in children. Consequently, if a woman, for instance, committed adultery, the ancestors would be offended. This could result in the death of her husband if he condoned her unfaithfulness, or the death of the woman during childbirth, or the death of her children. The reasons, according to him, is that the offense was felt to be committed not against the husband alone, but against the great Mother Earth, and it was the duty of the ancestor to avenge the woman's sin. 2008, page 10. The concept of ethics in the African traditional religion. The concept of ethics in the African traditional religion is based on the notion that man is never alone. Thus, society, according to Opoku, is a series of interrelationships in which each one contributes to the welfare and the stability of the community and avoids that which is disruptive or harmful to the community's life. 1978, 168 M. Beatty affirming this communal dimensions of African ethics asserts, I am because we are, and because we are, I am. African Religions and Philosophy, 1969, page 8. This communal nature of African ethics is further encapsulated by Omanzi Jelly, and Udo. That African ethics is based on communal living in the sense that it fuses the society into one big whole. In African traditional society, there is no me but us, no my but ours. Is it within it is within these perspectives and context of no truth but us, no my but ours. In a general, in a given traditional African society, that African ethic has been formulated 2095. In the same view, Adowu and Udo elaborating on the concept of immorality in African traditional religion, posits that since the individual does not and cannot exist alone except corporately, every member of the community is expected to act in such a way as to promote always the God of the whole society. Always the good of the whole society. It is held that whatever happens to the individual is believed to happen also to the whole group, and whatever happens to the whole group happens to the individual. 2008, page 6. That is why, according to him, his character makes for good social relations. It is laid upon every member of the community to act in such a way as to promote always the good of the whole body. Udo, 2008, page 6, Ethics in African Traditional Society. What a person does in accordance with the established norms contributes to the society. What a person does in accordance with the established norms contributes to the welfare of the whole community. At the same time, his misdeeds, however, can bring calamity to his immediate family, extended family, his lineage, and the entire community. Opoku, 1978, 168. To avoid the shame that his misdeeds will bring to his community, every African tribe, every African tries to live a good life. In supporting this assertion, C.A. Dime further contends that African relation holds that man must watch strictly his conduct so that it does not bring nor cause calamity for him or for the society at large. 1986, At 38, F.M. Bone and his part wishes that if an individual member of the community violates any of the traditional ethical norms and taboos such as adultery or stealing, the consequences of her violation would affect not only him, her, but also his immediate family, extended family, lineage, and the entire members of the community. It is in this sense that Hopkins and Stroll define ethics as a code or set of principles by which men live. 1981, number 1. It therefore means that the concept of ethics in traditional Africa is in living to avoid shame in any family or community. The concept of justice in African traditional religion. The conception of justice in African traditional religion is influenced by the consequences that usually follow any violation of an ethical code and also by how the society views deviant behaviors. According to A.J.A. Eason, the major crime in African traditional society included homicide, stealing, adultery, witchcraft, and all forms of treachery. There were other crimes related to breaches of religious or traditional codes. The violation of the codes of secret societies and so on, 1982, page 110. He further maintains that suspect cases were carefully examined by the Council of Elders to avoid punishing the innocent. In an event where guilt was established, the sanctions were very severe. One Iberian proverb summarizes the philosophy behind the concept of crime and the approach to the administration of justice. Odo Idu Wakat Ekpe translated, he who misses a step, his neck goes for it. 1982, page 110. The analogy used in the proverb above is that of a whole people marching together in step along the path of life, with every member of the group keeping in step. As long as this rhythm is kept by everyone, there is harmony, peace, order, happiness, and progress in the community. But as soon as one individual goes out of step deliberately or otherwise, disharmony and confusion occur, and the people's march is slowed down or disorganized. Disharmony and confusion occur, and the people's parents and the people's march is slowed down or disorganized. When either of these is done, he pays or suffers severely for his misdeeds, not always necessarily in the physical sense, but sometimes the criminal or offender had to die if his crime merited death. More often, he say, she say, prays for the misdeed economically through very through heavy fines or socially through ostracism or banishment or through deprivation of personal freedom in various forms, including consignment to slavery. Therefore, Africans' concept of justice is a mechanism put in place to maintain peaceful coexistence and to promote strict adherence to ethical values and taboos within the society. So we're going to stop right there, and we're going to come back in this video, and we're going to start on the concept of time in African traditional religion. And we just got through reading African traditional religion. African traditional religion, a conceptual and philosophical analysis by Reverend Emike C. Ikiki. And we're going to get ready to end today's video. And we didn't get a lot of studying, which is good. But we're going to come back on this video and we're going to pick right back up African traditional religion. And thank all my fans, my support for your continued encouragement and support. And I'm still working on my entertainment, my music interests. And very soon. But until then, you take care of yourself. And wish each and every one of you the very best. Take care of yourself.